Computer. Brilliant. Welcome back, Sarah of
Thank you
Parker
for having
Physio.
me
Lovely
again.
to see you. We're going to be talking about muscle separation. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. Diastasis recti, recti. I don't know. But
Yeah,
when
it's so funny, isn't it?
I think anyone knows, do they? But in fact, even you said there are different ways of saying it. But anyway, yeah, when a muscle separate in pregnancy and maybe not in pregnancy, but I had a few. I thought maybe this time I'll give a bit of a heads up of the questions we'll be covering, and then you can very kindly answer them um, each one in turn.
Hmm.
So a few questions came up, and a few that I've kind of just brought up myself. Are what is what is? I'll read them all out, and then we'll go back and start. So, what is muscle separation? Why does it happen? What are the signs it's happened? What are the problems it can cause? How do I know if I've got one? Exercise to avoid or to do, like Pilates, for example, could that be helpful? And when should you focus on that? Like the minute you notice it or whatever. If you had a separation in a previous pregnancy, what to expect to be mindful of second time around, what to do or not to do to make it worse now and during recovery. So if you have got one, anything you should avoid or should do now whilst pregnant and also after the baby. Will it ever go away on its own? Can you just leave it? Is it ever too late to sort? And lastly, what would happen if you did nothing? Loads of questions. So the first one.
You'd spontaneously combust. I just,
Definitely.
I
Turn
just
into a
like
pumpkin.
first and foremost, I've done an IGTV about diastasis. I can't say it. I call it tummy gap or dram.
Some muscle separation.
Is it muscle? Yeah, muscle separation. It sounds so much worse than it is. It's been given so much more press than it needs to have. And there's a lot of fear mongering around it, like massively. Don't do this, avoid that, reduce your risks of having it. 100% of women in their third trimester have diastasis of some form,
Right.
and huge amounts of women that have never had children have diastasis. A normal diastasis, I'm going to say it like that. Sometimes I say diastasis. A normal, what even is normal, but they've measured in studies, and science has shown that you can have one without having kids, anywhere from 0.5 centimetre to 3.5 centimetres,
Okay. Yeah.
without even having children.
Wow.
The gap between our muscles is there for a reason. And when I talk about the muscles, I'm talking about your six-pack muscles that attach from here to your pubic bone, and they go doof, doof, doof. And they have those kind of gaps in between, above and below, and also in the middle, to allow for rotation, flexion, and extension. So they're made literally for that reason. And you have from your belly button up and down that line, the linea alba, that joins those two parts together, and that connective tissue helps your sides of your body converse with each other of what's going on. So what happens when your belly gets bigger, and it can be men or women, it isn't just a pregnant lady's issue. When your tummy gets bigger, the muscles can't stretch any further over the top, so they have to come apart to allow for further growth. I'm saying that like you've got a baby growing out here. They have to part in the middle, and so then that connective tissue between the two sides, joining up your two sides of your body, it just stretches. That's all. It's not torn, it's not broken, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a physiological thing that happens. It's meant to happen.
Okay.
And I think that's where the foundation of all those questions comes from, is fear of it happening and fear of what's going to happen when it happens. And yeah, I think we just need to get it out there more that it's normal. It happens to nearly all ladies in their third trimester, happens to all other humans that haven't had babies as well, dependent. Even if they don't have a big belly, you can see quite large diastasis dram. If you've got a really low fat percentage on your body and a very very well defined abdomen, you'll see huge gaps in people's tummies. It's there for a reason. It's meant to be there, and there's nothing wrong with you, and it doesn't need fixing in that way, if you know what I mean.
Wow, that's so different to what you do, isn't it? Crikey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think this message of exercises to avoid and all of this fear mongering needs to just stop, because everyone is so individual, you know, body to body, journey to journey, that you might have exactly the same depth and width of tummy gap as the woman right next to you, but show completely different presentation of symptoms, or might not even have any at all, you know. And so it just needs to be totally individually guided. And that's where the kind of exercise questions that you've asked me come into play, is that there isn't any one exercise, one size fits all for DRA, DRAM, diastasis, tummy gap. There is not one fix it all way. It has to be individually assessed and individually rehabbed. And the most important thing that you can think in terms of your diastasis is, what can I do with this? Not what should I avoid? It's what am I able to do? And that's where you need to have another set of eyes on your tummy whilst you're rehabbing, to know that, you know, plank might not be for you, but a modification of that might be, you know. And, you know, me, if I've got I do have a tummy gap myself, and I dome crazy, and I know I need to do rehab, but I'm the worst patient. And what might be good for me might not be good for you, Jackie, with your rehab, and if you had a diastasis. And that's where, yeah, it needs to be flipped on its head. Not what should I avoid, but have a look at me and what can I do?
Yeah. Okay.
And most of the time you can do more than you think you can. And as long as you're managing it well with a professional, someone that knows what they're doing, you should be able to achieve quite a lot with a tummy gap. And, you know, sometimes they never go away, because like I said, you might be your normal. You might have had one before.
Right. Okay. And if you didn't do anything, if you just left it, could that cause problems?
It could, but again, we don't know. There's no way that you could predict what would happen in the future if you left it. And that's why I feel we need to move towards, in this country, every mum postnatally having a full body check, you know, so that it isn't just left, because there could be issues, you know, like with any postnatal injury. And I say injury, it's not an injury, you know, the tummy gap, it's a normal physiological thing. It's not an injury. It doesn't need to be fixed. And nothing needs to be fixed, really. But, you know, with any kind of postnatal issue, there needs to have rehab with it.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if all women had like a women's health physio check after they've had their babies?
I know, absolutely. And there needs to be more push towards that.
Because I know some countries, like France, for example, they're really big on that, aren't they?
Massively. You have 6, I think. Well, I don't even think it's on a length of time. And it's called, I think it's called relearning or something like that, like relearning your new body, basically, because it's a rebirth of yourself after you give birth. Your baby's been born, but you've been reborn. You know, everything about your life and your body, it's different. It's not going to be the same again. And so it's relearning what your abilities are with this new body of yours, new hormones, new lifestyle. You have a child to look after now. And I think as well, for women, we have such huge pressure on us for what our bodies look like. And this bounce back culture, right? You're not going to bounce back. Definitely not going to bounce back to where you were before, because where you were before, you weren't post-pregnancy and post-birth, you know. So that's another kind of huge issue that we need to kind of get over, is this pressure on women for our bodies to look a certain way, and particularly postnatally.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also once once a baby's born, the mother gets forgotten, doesn't she? It's like, oh, the baby's here now, let's focus and forget you, you know, which is terrible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is life-changing, nearest death experience that humans can ever have in their lifetime is birth. And obviously we've been saved by medicine. So yeah, I would say if you're concerned about a tummy gap, have someone look at it.
Yeah.
Sure. And then you can modify everything that you do to make sure that you're getting the most out of your body.
And how would they know they had it? I know we mentioned like doming. If they sit up, would their tummy do? Would they be able to look down and see quite clearly? Oh, yeah, I've got one. Or is it
yeah, sometimes you can. Sometimes people can just feel it if you're just like putting your fingers in just above and below your belly buttons. You can feel it. It's hard to feel when you're stood up because your tummy is quite switched on when you're stood up. But if you certainly lie down maybe and lift your head up, you might be able to feel a little gap between your tummy. Or the doming thing, if you're noticing that you're doming around that midline when you're moving or exercising, then I would go and get somebody to have a look.
But I've never checked my kids are much older now, nearly 16 and 12. So should someone who kind of comes later into it and hasn't done anything about it, is it worth them getting checked out? Or is it because they've come this far, they should be fine? Or?
No, I would say, I would say get it checked if you're concerned, because things can show up. The beauty of the body is it will keep you going. And it won't let you know that it's an issue until it is an issue. And that issue will be, you've got pain.
Right.
And so that might not show up until maybe you introduce something new into your routine, or I don't know. So I would always say, if you're concerned, definitely get a check.
I don't have any concerns now, but I suppose, would you say it's never too late to have like a woman's health physio check, even though if your kids are like older like mine?
Never, ever. Once postnatal, always postnatal. And it's a new body. So, it's never too late.
All right, better sort that out then. Get booked in.
Yeah, well, I can come and see you, Jackie.
What are the other ones? We'll cover that. Exercise to avoid, you said none. Pilates often gets like a good name around it, but we don't know what your thoughts on.
Yeah. I just, when it comes to postnatal rehab, for me personally, I prefer doing functional body work, stuff that is going to be useful to you in your day. I always start with mat work, and I start with breathing and moving limbs, and it's Pilates based, yes, but I quickly move away from that, because what you're doing every day when you've got your baby, you're lifting, you're carrying, you're walking up and down stairs, you're moving buggies around in and out, and car carry chairs and things like that. And that to me is what you need to be training back to, like, what is your tummy doing for you? Or your baby wearing, you've got a baby on your front. What's your body doing for you when you're doing these activities during your day? Is your tummy working for you? Are you managing it? The thing with the doming is it's an intra-abdominal pressure thing. And if you're not managing that pressure inside your abdomen, it domes here. And that's what I want to see you're able to do when you're doing your daily life activities. I'm getting one of my ladies in next week, because she baby wears. She walks a lot around here, Southeast London, with her baby strapped to her. So I said, bring him in with your sling, and let's see you doing some activities with your baby, because that's the most important thing, isn't it? What can you achieve with your body? And what you want to achieve is being a mum to your baby. Yeah. So I prefer more functional stuff.
Yeah, day-to-day stuff, rather than, I suppose realistically, not all mums are going to have time to get on the mat, are they?
That's the other thing. Yeah. If you're, I'm giving you squats, I'm like, when you stand up from the chair with your baby, do it 10 times.
Yeah.
Or if you're reaching down to the floor to pick your baby up, then do a few of those, or a few of these.
Yeah, brilliant.
Something that you're like, oh, this is an exercise. Everything that we do is an exercise. Every movement that we make is an exercise. We've just called it exercise because we've forgotten to move.
No, that's really good. That's good point. What other ones I heard? Oh yes. So a second time Mum mentioned she'd had a separation previously. What should she expect to be mindful of this time? Our second time around. She's pregnant now.
Yeah, again, difficult to see into the future. And if you are already pregnant, then enjoy your pregnancy and see what happens after. But I would say go and get yourself examined as soon as you can postnatally, so that you can start your rehab, you know.
Yeah.
And it depends on the rehab between pregnancies as well, as, you know, so many variables.
Yeah, I get it.
In there to be able to put a finger on exactly. I would say enjoy your pregnancy. It depends on how far along she is, as well as to what she can do now.
I think she's maybe first trimester.
Okay.
Or coming up for second, I can't remember.
Yeah. See, as long as you're keeping yourself mobile and strong.
Yeah, and there's nothing she should be mindful of. Just carry on. And is it, so am I understanding right? Don't worry about getting it separation checked whilst you're pregnant. It's a postnatal thing.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, because we don't want to be doing too many like ab focused exercises when you've got a baby growing in there. And obviously first trimester, relaxing is going to be all up in the mix as well. So getting how is it showing up, I would say, for her in her pregnancy?
If it's causing her a problem, maybe go to see someone now. If it's not, if it's fine, then postnatally when she's ready.
Absolutely, do some rehab.
Brilliant. And another pregnant mum had asked what to do, that she's been told by her midwife she has this separation. She wondered, again, you probably already answered this already, but what to do, not to do to make it worse now during recovery. So I think from what I'm gathering, you're saying don't worry about it whilst you're pregnant. Just go and see someone. If it's causing you problems, go and see someone now, like yourself, or wait to recovery. Have I got that right?
Yeah, I would say go and get a mummy MOT if you can. Go and see someone that's a specialist in the area. I know it's so hard to see anybody on the NHS at the moment. So paying privately will be the way to go. But just making sure, you stay as active as you can and strong as you can. And again, pregnancies are so different. So you have to just see what happens to your body.
Yeah. And on that note, I think the NHS, they do refer on to women's health physio, but the waiting list is ages, isn't it? And
it is.
unless it's a real emergency, like the woman's really having serious urinary incontinence or whatever, then maybe she might get fast tracked. But otherwise, it's a case of I always encourage women to save up now for the postnatal check at 6 weeks, put a tenner away or whatever.
Absolutely, do start saving
away a week
or come and see us at the village, because we have different tiers of pricing.
Okay. I'll put that in the I'll put the website in the comments.
Yes, brilliant. Yeah, we have there's this pricing structure basically, because we want these services to be accessible to everybody in the community. And so
brilliant. I didn't know. That's good to know. Okay. And where's it? Just remind me where the village is again. It's Catford, did you say? No,
it's Catford Hither Green.
Yeah,
Corridon Road, the community church there. Can't remember the name of it now.
Well, that's good. So South East London folks, that'll be handy for. I'll pop it in the comments.
Thanks.
I don't know, I can't believe we've covered this now. I don't think so. Will it ever go on its own? It's ever too late to sort. What would happen if you did nothing? Apart from turning into a pumpkin.
Yeah, something like that. So will it ever go on its own? Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. Again, depends on your lifestyle, your body, your experience, just so many variables as to whether it will go on its own. Sometimes they never go, but sometimes They never go in. You don't even realize that it's an issue with your body. It's so difficult to tell what's going to happen and who's going to be affected more, and who's more at risk of it not, the tension not coming back. So that's what we look for with diastasis, is the tension in the middle, because it just lacks tension when it parts. But then again, some ladies don't have any tension, but they're able to do so much with their body because they're managing that pressure well. So sometimes it doesn't go.
Yeah, and I suppose you've just left it and did nothing. Yeah, it's hard to know, because I suppose many, even like myself, I suppose I may have one, I've got no idea. Have a little look later.
Yeah, do.
But yeah, you just might not know, and so I suppose it's how long's a piece of string, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You might not even know you've got one. It's like with so many things in the human body. You could be walking around with a prolapsed disc in your back for the whole of your life and never know about it. And then the person next to you is on the floor and can't move with it. You know, it's so varied in people's experiences of their bodies. And a lot of the time it's quite an aesthetic thing with the diastasis, because you can see it, it's right there, the skin's changed on your tummy, it doesn't look the same, you can see that it's not, you know, your belly's pointing, belly button's poking in the right direction, or maybe you've got an outie and you had an innie, and all of these things. Like, we're obsessed, aren't we, as women, with our tummies, not of our own fault. It's society, it's made us become obsessed with our stomachs and being washboard abs and all of these horrible things that we have to live with and see all the time. And it's easy to focus on because it's right there. And that will change your experience of your rehab as well, because if you're feeling really negative about a part of your body, trust me, it won't be happy with that. You know, because your thoughts have so much power over what's going on in the rest of your body.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Yeah, so powerful thoughts, crikey.
So powerful. And I think we underestimate that power.
Yeah,
we underestimate our bodies as well, the power of the human form. It's to me, it's like, it's magic, growing and birthing a child.
Yeah, I'm never tired of the kind of superpower that is. I mean, I don't get bigger than that, does it? I mean, incredible to think about it.
It's mad.
It's mind blowing, really, isn't it?
In your tummy, and then it comes out some way, either through the top or through the bottom.
Yeah.
It just, and we survive it now.
And not only that, you grow a whole new organ, the placenta, and birth that. I mean,
I know, a whole new organ.
Crazy.
And you've got that little scar on your belly for the rest of your life where you're attached to your mum with that organ. It's like, you know. And so, yeah, bodies are magic, and they can deal with a lot, and they can do anything if you give them the right environment. Anything. So it's never too late to start. And I always say, start, if you are concerned, get your breathing right, and also get your thoughts about it in a better, more, you know, healthy mindset about how you feel. You know, what does it mean to you to have that tummy gap? Is it an aesthetic thing? Are you worried about damaging yourself? You know, what are the thoughts that come up about this tummy, this change in your tummy? Because they're so important to find out your connections to it as to how you're going to then progress with your rehab.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's great. I mean, they're all the questions that I kind of gathered and that I'd had lined up. Anything else you think we might have missed that might be useful for women? Or it's pretty in-depth chat, wasn't it? But really useful.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are surgical routes to this, and it's not a huge thing in the UK, but I would always start conservatively, non-surgically, physio, and exercise and movement first,
Yeah.
because you'll be surprised what your body can achieve given the right cues.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much.
That's a pleasure.
Yeah, I'll pop that village thing in, that village link in the comments.
Yeah.
Add your website again. I put it on the other one, but I'll pop that in again as well, in case people want to get in touch with you who live locally. And thanks so much for your time, Sarah.
And if there's any questions that come up as well after this, then just let me know. I don't know if anything came up after the last one that we did.
I don't think so. I mean, nothing came up in the comments, but it's had, it's had lots of positive feedback. So it's just great to be able to share this stuff,
It's so important, it's like, we've so disconnected to these things now because it's just been so medicalized, like have a baby, birth your baby, and then that's it. And it's like so much more than that. Yeah,
and the recovery is so important, and women get forgotten, and it's just rubbish. So the more we can share around this, the better. I'm delighted to share them. And
and if you have that kind of empowerment over your body in your rehab, like, it's so important for you and your relationship with your children and things like that. So it goes so much further.
Yeah, it certainly does. I'll encourage people to put any questions in the comments and you can answer them directly then. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah.
All right, thank you. Pleasure. Thanks for having me.